Hi, my name is Clay Hopgood,
My name is William Carter.
and today we'll be talking about child marriage. How does child marriage violate girls' human rights? While most child marriages occur with the kid having no ability to say no, nearly all child marriages turn into abusive relationships. This usually makes the child or woman feel disempowered, deprived of their fundamental rights, health, education, and safety. These children are neither physically nor emotionally ready to become married. How big of a problem is it? Child marriage is a violation of basic human rights. On a global scale, 1 in every 5 girls are married before age 18. In underdeveloped countries, it is more common. 40% of girls are married before age 18 and 12% before age 15. In Africa, child marriage is a major issue. African countries make up 15 of the 20 countries worldwide with the highest rates of child marriage. 77% of girls in Niger and over 60% of girls in Central African Republic and Chad marry before they turn 18. South Asia is the current region with the most child brides, but is expected to be surpassed by Africa by 2050 if more progress isn't made to prevent child marriages. But there is hope. Through support from international donors, UN agencies, and civil society groups, awareness is being brought to the issue at hand. Child marriage occurs for 2 main reasons. Poverty. Girls and women in poverty-stricken countries are often viewed as financial burdens. As a result, parents marry off their daughter or daughters to alleviate their financial problems. The other main reason is survival. Some families cannot protect or feed their daughters, so they decide they would be better off with a husband. Child marriage still exists, mainly because it requires a great deal of funding and work to prevent it. The funding needed to effectively fight child marriage would have to come from outside countries because the third world countries where child marriage is common do not have the resources available. Our first disruptive change agent is Freddie Reese. Freddie was 19 when her family arranged for her to marry a man who turned out to be violent. She escaped at the age of 27 and got a degree in journalism. Freddie is recognized internationally as an expert on forced and child marriage in the U.S. She is now an advocate for child marriage laws in the U.S.
So going into a bit more about Freddie Reese, she founded Unchained at Last. This nonprofit organization helps people get out of forced marriages and also helps advocate for new legislation on the issue. So for example, they helped raise the age in both Rhode Island, Delaware, and New York. From previously it was under 18 and now I believe it's 17 in all these states. So I was still not 18, there's still progress in the right direction. So the next disruptive change agent is Nadal al-Ahada. She escaped from her parents' residence in Yemen because they were trying to marry her off to someone else. And so actually in her family, both her aunt and her sister both actually burned themselves as a means to try to avoid being married off by their families. So moving on with her, in 2015, both her and her uncle were actually kidnapped by Al-Qaeda militants. And they actually held for 14 days, and so they were released. After this, she left and made it to the United Kingdom, where she was much safer. And then from there, she has been an advocate and spokeswoman for ending child marriage across the world, and has been very powerful in speaking her message. So our action plan for helping end child marriage is to increase awareness by getting the word out over social media and other platforms like that, changing people's minds by educating them about child marriage and its effects. So go into those third world countries and teach them why it is so bad and why we should end this. And then last, putting laws into place and making sure they're enforced. So kind of going off of what Freddie Reese is doing and actually going into the legislation, going into the laws, and starting it from the ground up so that it can't even occur, let alone continue. So again, moving on to our action plan. Once people are made aware of child marriage and educated on the topic and why it is so immoral and why it is so wrong for people to do, it will likely fade out of the culture. Once people believe that it is bad, it should not be practiced. Over time, it won't be a quick change, but over time, people will no longer see it as just a way of life. So going on to the Civitate curriculum, this is both of our first experience with the Civitate curriculum. It was really new and different from what we were used to the past 3 years here at Longwood. It was really eye-opening and interesting how it was really fluid and a lot more interactive than some of our other courses. We felt there was a much more emphasis on our own personal creativity and how we wanted to shape the class, which is really unique and really a new experience for both of us. So continuing off of that, as I kind of mentioned, the fluidness of the class and how much class discussion there was and how open they were to new ideas and hearing people's voices was one of the highlights of the class and what both of us really enjoyed about this class. So we're excited and thank you for listening to our presentation.